Hello, my name is Donald Thomas, and in this presentation we'll be discussing home fire safety. Did you know that within the United States of America, every year almost 3,000 people die in house fires, with more than 12,000 or so becoming injured from the house fire and nearly $5 billion in annual property loss? In my 16 years of experience as being a firefighter, I've witnessed firsthand the pain, the heartache that occurs with house fires and the effect that it has on families. And in most of those house fires that I've fought, if a little bit more care and caution was taken, or having a plan or practicing fire safety habits, then most of those fires could have been avoided. So we're going to discuss practicing fire safety at home. We'll talk about two of the main causes of home fires. We'll discuss some general fire safety tips. And we'll discuss two important factors in helping you to survive in case a fire breaks out within your home. One is having a working smoke alarm. Notice I said working smoke alarm. And the other is developing a home fire escape plan. Let's briefly talk about fire. Did you know that fire doubles in size every 30 seconds? So that gives it the ability to spread rather quickly. And it's not the fire that actually causes people to die. It's the smoke inhalation. It's the asphyxiation, the removal of oxygen from the air due to the smoke being in the home that causes the deaths. So that's why it's important to have working smoke alarms and having a fire escape plan. Having both of those increases you and your family's chances of survival in case a fire actually breaks out. So let's turn our attention to actual causes of fires within the home. Did you know that 50% of all fires within homes come from cooking? And 90% of all those cooking fires are started because of inattentiveness or unattended cooking. So the key component to avoiding home cooking fires is to make sure that you're watching what you're doing in the kitchen at all times. Making sure that you're in the kitchen at all times while you have something on the stove cooking. In my experience as a firefighter, some of those unattended cooking moments happen between 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock, or rather between 12 and 3 o'clock in the morning. And that's due to somebody cooking while they're sleepy. And for some strange reason, it's always been either French fries or hot dogs setting the kitchen on fire. So it's important that you are attentive when you're cooking, and definitely don't cook when you're sleepy or tired or drowsy. While you're in the kitchen cooking, you want to make sure that you don't have any loose articles of clothing. You want to make sure that you don't have any items like pot handles or bags or wooden spoons or anything like that that could potentially cause a fire. And when cooking with grease or cooking in general, you want to make sure that all handles are turned in. And if you're cooking with something that requires a lid, then use it. So if you decide to leave the kitchen, turn the burner off. That's the easiest way that you can avoid having a potential kitchen fire. Now we know that fires do happen, fires do occur. So the main thing that you want to do is never, or one of the most important parts to cooking fires is never pouring water on a grease fire. Nowadays, extinguishers, more or less extinguishers are made or are available at home hardware stores that are specifically for using in the kitchen. Now, these extinguishers are a little different than your normal ABC extinguishers that you might have through the home, that of which I also encourage you to get. These particular extinguishers are kitchen fire extinguishers, and they have a different agent or a different extinguishing agent on the inside of them used specifically for grease fires. Now, if you don't have a kitchen fire extinguisher and a grease fire occurs, then what you could do is turn the fire off or turn the stove off and then slide a lid over the top of the pot of the pan. And this typically smothers the fire and prevents it from spreading. Let's move on to the second leading cause of fires within the home, and that's heating or heating appliances rather. Heating appliances include fireplaces, wood stoves, portable heaters, radiators. In my time as a firefighter, I've seen a lot of fires start from portable radiators or portable heaters. So we want to make sure that you have at least 3 feet of clearance around all of those sources of heating. And prior to you leaving the house or prior to you leaving the room, if you have portable heaters, you want to make sure that you unplug those when you leave the room. Smoking, additionally in the home, is another leading cause of deaths or house fires within the U.S. Smoking in the home puts you at a greater risk of actually having a house fire. So, if you smoke, or if you have family members that do smoke, you should encourage them to smoke outside. If they do smoke inside, then make sure that they have sturdy metal ashtrays. Before they put the cigarette butts in the trash can, you want to make sure that they're extinguished with water. And for those that still do smoke in the house, you want to make sure that they don't smoke in bed or smoke when they're sleepy. If you have smokers when they're in the house and you also have children, you want to make sure that all matches, lighters, cigarettes, things of that nature are put away from the children that live in the house. Let's talk about the special population, our special ones, our children and our older adults, and the things that we can do to help them be fire safe within the home. First, we want to make sure that we keep children 3 feet away from things that could potentially burn them. Keep them away from the stove. Keep them away from the oven. Keep them away from portable heaters, radiators, fireplaces, things of that nature. If we have candles, if you use candles within your home, you want to keep those candles out of children's reach. You also, again, want to lock up items like matches, lighters, cigarettes, anything that they could use to potentially start a fire, because children are inquisitive. For caregivers of older adults or older adults themselves, you want to enforce or make sure that no one smokes in their bed. And for that particular population, if older adults have oxygen for medical conditions, no smoking near the oxygen tank. Again, you want to establish the 3 feet rule between heaters and anything combustible or any materials that would potentially catch fire. Let's move on and transition to the 2 very, very important components of survival if a fire happens within your home. And that is smoke alarms, smoke alarms, smoke alarms. I can't emphasize the importance of having smoke alarms within your home. Most child deaths that occur within the United States of America are because there were no working smoke alarms within the house. A working smoke alarm also reduces the risk of dying in a fire by nearly 50%. So it's extremely important that you have smoke alarms within your home. Where you place the smoke alarms are just as critical or just as important. You want to install the smoke alarms on the inside of every sleeping area and on the outside of every sleeping area as well. This smoke alarm that I have is a battery-powered smoke alarm. So when I bring attention to a working smoke alarm, we have to make sure that we test the smoke alarm every month. And if you're using a battery powered smoke alarm like this one, you have to change the batteries. You have to change the batteries in the smoke alarm at least once a year. For those of us that live in states that go by daylight savings time, in the fire profession, we suggest that once you change the clock, you change the batteries. For those of us that don't live in states that observe daylight savings time, again, the once a year rule applies to changing the batteries, and it wouldn't hurt to change them twice a year on particular anniversary dates or birthdays or days that you will remember to do something like that. Days that you'll remember to change the battery in this key component here in your smoke alarm. So the battery is chirping, it's telling you it's time to change the battery. Or if the smoke alarm's chirping, it's telling you that it's time to change the battery. I've also fought fires in my career where there were smoke alarms present, but they weren't working because someone took the battery out because it became a nuisance. It's a nuisance for a reason, because it's important. So change the batteries. And if you have a smoke alarm that's older than 10 years, replace them. Because over time, smoke alarms that are 10 years or older, they lose their sensitivity. When we're talking about fire alarms, or smoke alarms rather, for children, we want to make sure that the children know the sound, what the sound of the smoke alarm is, and what to do in case of an actual emergency. That helps us leads us into the second key component in getting out of your house alive in case of a fire. And that is developing a home fire escape plan. Do you have a plan? If you have a plan, does everyone in your house know what to do? Do your little ones know what to do? Do the older adults in your house know what to do in case of a fire? You have to teach every member of your house what to do in case of a fire. If you have children, younger children, if you have older adults that live within your home, you have to tailor your plan to make sure that they get out alive as well as you. Once you're formulating your plan, you can create 2 points of escape. And then you practice that plan 2 times a year. For children who are old enough to dial 911, teach them how to dial 911. Teach them what to say. But make sure that call to 911 happens on the outside of the house. When you're developing your fire escape plan, you develop the plan based upon the layout of your home. The American Red Cross website has a downloadable form in which you can map or chart your home fire escape plan and then begin to practice over it. Again, when a fire breaks out in your home, all you have is 2 to 3 minutes tops to escape. You want to make sure that you practice that fire home escape plan. And then once you get out of the house, have a meeting place in which everybody can meet up, and that way you can take a head count to make sure that everybody got out of the house. And once you get out of the house, stay out of the house. Don't go back in for belongings. It puts you at a greater risk for perishing or getting injured from that fire. You also need to teach everyone in the house basic fire principles like stop, drop, and roll. For children, this is very important. Teach them to stop, drop, and roll. For adults, it's also important. Sometimes we may forget. So practicing these small fire safety things can lead to being successful in escaping and not getting injured and not getting harmed in homes and house fires rather. So again, we can't emphasize enough the importance of having a smoke alarm in your home, having a fire safety plan, and practicing good home fire safety habits. Have fire extinguishers. Talk to your children about what to do in case of a fire. Make sure you formulate a plan for all the loved ones that you have within your home so that everyone can escape in case of a fire. But first, we want to do the things that we can, or the best that we can, to avoid fires happening at all in the first place. And that's by practicing good home fire safety habits. Thank you, and please always stay safe.